Step one, want to make sure you're ironing your fabric. Make sure if it's cotton, it's on the cotton setting, linen on the linen setting. Just be careful you don't burn the house down. All right. Next, you want to make sure you are measuring it out. We're going to use the imperial system here because it just, you probably have more of it at home. So we're going to go 2 inches by 6 inches. Very important.
10 inches by 6 inches.
Oh, that is 10 inches by 6 inches. Thank you for reading my cue cards for me. 10 inches by 6 inches. One right here and one right here. Okay. Okay, next we are going to cut the fabric. This is what's called a rotary cutter. And it's got a little safety spot on it so you can't cut yourself really until you take that right off. And then it can become super sharp. So if you have one of these at home, please get a parent to help you. Okay? So you're going to just take this, you're going to gently go back and forth just like you're cutting a pizza. And voila, it's going to come out nice and perfect. Try that again for the next part. Okay, so the next step's pretty tough. If you're a fisherman, probably become pretty easy. If you've done this before, it might be easy. But you've got to actually thread the needle through with your thread. I've already cut out about an arm's length of thread. Is that what you call it, thread? And I'm going to try to put this through. Now, I've got big fat fingers, so it's not easy. Oh, there we go. It's through there. And now you're going to just tie it off.
No, you got to pull it all the way through.
Just pull it all the way through.
To the other end.
To the other end.
And then tie the knot.
And then tie the knot. So, here we have it. All the way through. Like that.
You're not No, don't tie the knot there. You tie the knot at the end of the thread.
The end of the thread? What does that even mean?
Where the two ends come together.
Here.
Here? Yeah.
Why would you do that? And you're double threading it.
Yeah.
Huh.
It had strength that way.
Oh, structural? Are we talking science? Perfect. But speaking of, we've got form and function, grade 7 and 8. We've in order to have a little bit stronger of thread, you want to make sure that there is a double thread going through. That therefore increases the strength of your thread by a factor of 2. Okay, so now you want to tie off the end of the actual thread. You're going to double thread it because we want some strength in that thread, so we're going to have 2 of them going through. This is tricky, not the easiest thing in the world. If you have done this before, then you'll probably know. But here's a little trick, though, that I picked up back in the old days. So you're going to just roll this around your fingers back in grade 8 family studies, about that much. And then you're going to just kind of smooth it out so it overlaps. You're going to make a little thing. Now the trick is, when you do... the trick is you got to pull that thing through.
Just pull it tight.
Sometimes it can be a little tricky.
There you go, you did it. You did it.
And now you've got a nice little knot at the end of this. And... extra structural strength. Now we win.
Go.
Okay, so now we're going to start to actually put our material out and begin to sewing it together. What you want to do is you want to, well, first of all, let's take a little look at this material here. It's nice little mushrooms. I'm choosing mushroom for my mask because I'm a fun guy. Now, moving along, we're going to take a little time here. We're going to put this right down like this. And then we're going to put this one on top of it. And you'll notice that it's not on the printed side. It's actually on the non-printed side. We're going to be sewing into that because we want it to look nice. We want it to be a seamless mask. We don't want to be able to see all the actual sewing that we'll be doing in a second. But you're going to want to just mark it. I'm going to approximately use my hands here to make some marks on here. And then about, a centimeter or so. Now we're moving from the empirical to the lovely world of counting by tens of the, the metric system. Now, we're going along. And just so we know where we're going to be sewing. Nice little border around there. And approximately where we're going to be sewing. Okay, so we've got our markings. Now we're going to actually take this needle and this lovely thread that I put together, and we're going to actually make the seam. So what we're going to do is we're going to hold it in our non-dominant hand. So if you throw with your right, keep it in your left, and you're going to be using it through there. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to go into the first little marking there that you have. And go right through. You're going to pull it all the way through. The reason we're doing that is to get your knot all the way into the very end. And what we're going to do next is very tricky. You're going to come back up about, maybe a little bit less than a centimeter up from where your hole was, because we want a nice little tight seam. So we're going to go just like that. And we're going to pull it all the way through again. And the next step is we are going to come back in right through the same hole that we originally did. And the reason we do that is because we want a nice, beautiful seam that has some strength. Okay, so we're going to come back in, pull ourselves all the way through again. And if you have a tough tail here, you might run into some problems with the thread overlapping with it, but that's okay. So now that we're through there, we're going to come back up again. You're going to kind of, if you can see this lovely little seam here, you're going to come all the way to about that spot there. So you have another stitch. That's what we call it in the seamstress world. And we come back up, pull it all the way through, and so goes the pattern. Now, if you are a grade 7 student or a grade 8 student, you might notice that these have a little bit of integers involved in it. You're going basically up 2 and back 1, so positive 2, negative 1. Coming back in through here, that little hole that we did before, coming back, negative 1, all the way back, and a positive 2 is next.
Can you just hold it in your hand for me?
There we have it. Oh. Okay, here's a little trick of the trade. Might save you some time. What I actually do here, instead of doing all that all the way through, I'm just showing you that because I wanted to make sure you could see the full extension of the actual thread. But really, you don't need to do that. You can kind of take a little bit of a skip. And what you want to do is you want to hold it again just like this, and you want to go back to where you were. Now, instead of going all the way through and pulling your thread through and kind of awkwardly fighting around that, you can actually cheat a little bit by just poking it through the spot where you need it. And then now you're going through 2 spots instead of 1. That's right, times 2. You just did 2 things in a row. And tighten it up there and then start over again. Come back, loop through, same thing, through the hole. And voila, coming through again. Okay. If you run out of thread and you're not quite done your sewing, what you need to do is you need to tie it off and start the whole process over again. So in order to tie it off, you just need to catch your last thread, put it under, loop it through, and voila, you'll have a nice little knot right there. And now you can move on. 3 days later, I've got, so after you've got the seam all the way around, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to flip it inside out. Now, I obviously didn't show you all the stitching that I did, but it probably took me about 3 hours to do. Some of you might be able to do it in 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, but no, it's not really 3 hours. It's probably took me about 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes. Who knows? Anyways, you're gonna flip it inside out like this. Because you left that little space there. Kind of looks like it seems to be on the inside. I'm gonna flip it around. And you might just want to get something like a little poking stick or a paintbrush or pencil, something lying around. just to kind of smooth out all the edges. Make it so it's a nice kind of almost pencil case size thing, really. Interestingly enough, you could probably make a pencil case just like this, but leave a little more space and attach your zipper after. But we're gonna just stick with the face mask because we want to protect ourselves and really protect other people when we leave the house, just in case we happen to have something that we don't want to spread. So there it is. Next step is to add some elastics. Okay, so the next little thing before we actually put on the elastic bands is we're going to have to close this little opening shut. So what we're going to do, same kind of idea, except you kind of want to hide the seams if you can. So what you're going to do is, I've already laced this through, but you're just going to kind of go in and out of these by just picking up each little side. It's a little bit trickier than the other stuff we've been doing because you don't want to really see all the seams as you're going through. But try it out, see how it works out for you. And you just got to carefully grab the side and come back up and then loop through. So I'll work on this and get this shut up. Closed. Okay, so this is the last little piece. You're going to put the actual elastics onto the mask. When you do that, make sure you pick the right size. We're going to go to these 7s. These ones go up to 5 or so. They're going to be a little bit better around the ear, so we're going to try these out. Okay, so turns out these numbers have nothing to do with sewing. It just happens to be the sizes of on a diaper because we're reusing these from diapers. So really, this elastic's about approximately 7 inches, I would say. We can do a quick measure. Yep, no, exactly 7 inches. Use about that. It really depends on the size of your head, size of your ears. You know, if your ears hang low or they wobble to and fro. So check it out a little bit with how things might fit with you. Okay. Now we are going to affix this elastic to the corners of the edge of the mask. Now when you're doing this part, you want to go and make kind of like an X as if you're pretending to put it through buttons back and forth. So aim for that letter X. Oh, that's what it's going to look like. And now we're about to sew the other end of the elastic onto 2 of these things on. Again, you'll notice X formation, both sides. Get it tied off. Okay, now for the moment of truth to see whether or not this guy. Here we go. How to Make a Mask by Mr. Smith. Pioneer Skills.